They lined their own pockets, saved money by putting roundabout instead of maintaining electrical infrastructure, and instead of maintaining electricity, maintaining the robot. A busy road go Soweto. It's kaba choka block na ba kaba the roundabout to go William Nicol, guys. Kaba. Imagine if they went and put the roundabout to go William Nicol intersection area. Bayes not Bayes. Marabitang, yona N1. Intersection ya William Nicol and N1 highway. LA on Rempang off Rempang Koyona. The most busiest one in the game. LA ya khotena ya khobora ya go ba nonsense. Se ba be di roundabout to da. Lil level out le ba but Lil level 1. Stop and go. Kilo namo because government yalona haiba tle ya hala iti mina ngizingeni yeah gapo government yalona busy ka gapo at the prospect of who maintain di ntho tsa lona di robot post le ba buti da ba batlo maintain infrastructure ya di robot tsa lona ba pesitse ka bo boruku bo bokima bo botona ba Humpty Dumpty because now you can't build me back up together again, oh kingsmen. Ke feditse ka lona and who fedile hape le ka lona jaka ha ke feditse ga kana nahana. Well, they would never ever do that on Bayes, never mind Bayes, but on William Nicol, on Malibong, they would never ever do that on Bayes intersection as you get him off the N1 highway. They would never do that on 14th Avenue, Mamela. I'm going to Australia, I'm going. Like Trevor Noah's joke. But these days, because I can't have a racist king. Mamela, we are still in systematic oppression. We are still in systematic oppression. We are our country is majority black, and this black government of ours is super racist against and Batwabantu. While they're not racist against Batwabantu, they're acting like they love them when they in their particular cases, in their particular places where they stay. Agu maintain and Ama vets, ama finances run dry because people out here ate them like it's Mayo or whatever. Likota ya thing, because when you that junk eating food, you're that junk food eating kasi dwella. Oja Mayo likota in one sitting. Look at all that dairy and all those carbs. It is no wonder I'll eat some clava. Ma how about to lose a weight? Alright. When I was junk food how could that way obosa lo acha out here na yabo snacks. Yeah. Obosa ache out here snacks you're still in apartheid South Africa. Don't you see you're still oppressed? Your black government has no regard for you blacks. And not for every time. They start with you first. They start to ration black people first. It's what I'm getting at. When their corruption has bled them of money, the first community they ration are blacks. As a black country with a black majority, it is no wonder the disparities of income are so large, and it is the most unequal country in the world, though they maintain their stupid BEE that is not actually empowering black people. I was supposed to be a beneficiary of BEE. Indeed, I benefited from it because I was awarded a learnership opportunity to start my career in corporate South Africa because I was a black girl. However, after that, a whole bunch of crazy people led by their corruption uprooted me from a career. So now I'm facing getting a government stipend. What's going on? You can't do that no more social granting. Even though I was supposed to be empowered by BEE, they don't want to eliminate BEE. They've got the most race-based laws in the world. They want to keep it going, and yet they are so corrupt that they are to be disenfranchising already empowered black people. BEE has done its rounds. It benefited me, but then after that, the same black people uprooted me from a career. So Kifilanga is seeing as you're happy to go and uproot your own black people, and you don't want to empower them. Get rid of BEE. They're super racist against white folk, and then they're super careless against black folk, claiming, however, to care. When the evidence is clear, it starts gawking at you, that they're still out here doing group areas, type rationing, where the best of services go first, like a trickle effect, like a waterfall effect, and you get whatever is at the dregs at the bottom. 2 gentrified neighborhoods that were previously white. So essentially, by collateral benefit, black folks that live in those neighborhoods are benefited. But if at all, it was still like the days of apartheid, or if at all, people within the group areas were just lazy to emigrate, to migrate, to move, to mesh, to diversify, to if they struggled to change because they did not have a good enough change manager or whatever. If they were like, I'll stay in Soweto, I'll stay in Lenasia, I'll stay in El Dorado Park, I don't want to go to Sandton. If they made a decision to stay in their group areas, essentially whatever might have been the issues during the days of apartheid in the Group Areas Act, in particular of apartheid South Africa, will still be ongoing, where it is that those who live in the previously disadvantaged group areas are still endured through waterfall, lost remnants of trickle-down provision by the government. You get everything last. Electrical infrastructure was built last in Soweto, in the black group areas, in the non-white group areas, electrical infrastructure was built last by the apartheid regime. White South Africans had electricity first, and then they brought it to the Indians, and then they brought it to Soweto, to Sophia Town, to all them blacks. I remember a time when we were out there hanging out with Dikeres and listen, like proper, electricity was already an invention that existed on the planet across the world, but it was yet to be installed in the Gasis where we stay. It's not like it was just now newly found. It was, however, only just now coming to our Soweto. You know what I'm saying? I remember a time when there was no electricity in Soweto. Listen, I remember it. I remember the days of Prema Stove Dikeres. I remember who came mabone di bulb di Soweto in my whole lifetime, in my own experiences in my lifetime. So if at all black people are being sent back to Gerese di Premastofo again, listen, Group Areas Act, Val is a black group area, isn't it? Soweto, black group area, isn't it? Hey, Soshanguve, black group area. You're the ones that don't have electricity. You're the ones that are getting the last remnants of government built. And since the World Cup displayed that it is entirely possible for our country to build stuff real fast, because they did it in just 10 years for the Soccer World Cup, it shows that they could have not only refurbished electrical infrastructure real quickly for the whole country within these 30 years that we've been twisting around in the wilderness for what? The refurbishment of South African infrastructure, done. You will remember how in Soweto we were the last to receive tarred roads. You will remember by our new government with our black president. Yeah, we were the last to get tarred roads. And the roads of which now, like I said, all across the board, it is indiscriminate as to whether or not it is in Soweto or in the Burbia, are all potholed. Okay, so that is actually afflicting everybody by because like I said, black folk, if they had not moved out of the previously black group areas, they essentially would have barely experienced true transformative change as a result of the new regime. Let's call it a regime, that's what it is. As a result of the new South African democratically elected government coming on board. And like, there would have been a little to no difference in the way that previously white group areas are treated in terms of rebuilding and refurbishment of the country versus the previously group areas. Sandton is still, listen, number one, to receive all the best of things. And so too is like Edenvale. And so too is basically all of these suburbia that we are living in. They are quickly to be maintained, quickly to be corrected, quickly to have issues therein eradicated. Yeah, and then you go to Soweto, like, listen, just next door, and there's no proper lifestyle there. You then go to the Gasis and there's barely any proper lifestyle until people badulang kotenyi think ukuthi this is life, it's normal. Until you go and you visit Umgani, Egasi, as a chick suburb, Burbia, and you are frustrated out of your crazy brain. Yeah, because everybody's brains are crazy. I keep saying that. You're frustrated out of your crazy brain by, girl, when is the power coming back on? Hey, aren't you shaking in your body? The way the power sitting at the like, yeah. There are certain places that how di chakela udula ko di sabab so you're gonna be like, yo, mina mfunge kaya, hai lana, kya Kenya. Mtlakasi nje unoqishwa every time, kangaka. Well, I experienced Group Areas Act type unfairness when I was living in Cosmo City, when I was living in Naturina. Like I told you, Naturina Kikasi Marake Burbia. It's right next door to Winchester Hills, it's right next door to Pasonia, it's right next door to Glen Vista. Yo, Hashem. Because it's black, because Naturina is black. When I was made to live, I've been made to live in Cosmo City in this season. I've been made to live in Naturina, and I live right now in Wilge. I live where I live, right? And my neighborhood has always had power cut problems, really because of a separate issue with our grid and whatnot. Just in terms of South African, like, induced type power cut problems. I have lived in 4 ways. Hey, that was the best time of my life. I lived in Reimsig. Before I lived in 4 ways in my own apartment, I had also lived go Honeydew. Honeydew, I didn't enjoy. I enjoyed quite a few podcasts when I was in Honeydew, right? Before I lived go Honeydew, I lived go Reimsig. Yeah. No, not before. I lived go Honeydew, I lived go Reimsig. Before, because right now, and if you want to go outside, then go outside. But you can't just carry on acting like a crazy, nefarious food. You're just a cat. You don't get to be diabolical, okay? That's the work of demons. When I moved from Reimsig to 4 ways, it was so much fun. I was like half always waiting at night when I was having dinner from Tlakasi to Bilakhojo. I was, listen, always just waiting. Because I was always just waiting for power cuts. I was always just waiting for power cuts where I stayed. And then I moved to 4 ways and I was waiting. Nothing. Dog, like days, months would go by. What's not power cut? I was like, I noticed. Oh, this is Sandton. This is Sandton, Africa's wealthiest city. Yeah, that's what's giving. Hey? And over here, politicians. Even my older sister who used to stay in Morningside said it. She was like, here in Morningside where I stay, I can trust I'm not going to get power cuts because I got politicians in my backyard. She thoroughly said that. And she was not wrong. Now, however, there are power cuts even in that space, but not that much. They keep their own houses lit where they live in these lonely suburbs. Politicians largely, they don't stay in Remsig. So when they started to roll out load shedding even in white neighborhoods, we got affected. Koboma Waltervierden Park, Koboma Remsig, Koboma Edenvale, etc. But where it is that you will find just a collective of politicians and big business bosses living, they don't listen. They are the ones that can afford solar panels, and so substitute their issue with electricity with their wealth. Look at the wealth out here enabling the cause of the wealthy already. And the businesses in Sandton are already those that can afford to pay exorbitant prices in rental for office space and whatnot. They are essentially rich enough companies to be able to have office space in Sandton, and they're making a whole chunk of money. Yet the ones who need to be empowered, black people that need to be empowered, that they might indeed move from the low income level group to middle income level group and whatnot because of their entrepreneurial pursuits, their entrepreneurial endeavors. You're busy out just switching off their electricity to a point where they cannot, for the life of them, run their washing machines and their laundromat business. They cannot keep on frying their fish and chips on their stoves in their got business. They cannot keep their food cold, their stuff cold in their refrigerators in their spaza shops. They cannot. And they're the ones that need to be empowered in order to improve the nation's inequality ratio, where it is that the income disparity between the rich and the poor will slowly simmer down, precisely because of the poor, the lowly, becoming middle class, because are they not able to run successful businesses in Soweto and so level up like the Sierra or whatever? Level up, and they keep on getting power cuts until their businesses close. Whereas the ones that can afford exorbitant rentals or Santa don't get power cuts. They're already rich businesses. They already have got such fat on their books that they can basically write out 3 years of just constant power cuts before their business starts to have a rough time. Whereas the businesses from where they are cutting off power are almost like living hand to mouth, in the sense that 1 month's worth of power cuts is enough to cause them to have to basically send notice with their landlord. They have to send in notice with their landlord for the building from which they are running their laundromat, Egasi type establishment thing. So they not only cut power in places where people needed to be empowered to improve the country, but they maintained it in those that were rich. Essentially, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer as a result of our corrupt government. And amidst the wealthy living in those particular areas, like Sandton, like the north of Johannesburg, like Umhlanga and everywhere, that's where barely you will find power cuts, to a point where my snobbish sister, I'll just say, I be out your loving where I be staying, because over here we be not getting low shedding, to a point of mocking and teasing us before we got solar panels. Ari teaser, ari moka. Naka di podcast zena, atla mona mo jarateng, Wi-Fi ya rana, o mona toko computing, ebe khatla motlakase udimo, abare guys, I'm gonna have to see you later, goodbye, atsamaya. Motho a kena marakolong ya gage jeep, apara masasa a makima a kana, I go Morningside because I am so tired, even though I wanted to visit you as family and I should be spending time with you, but proper, like, I need to work. And if Wi-Fi is not going to be running for how many hours? Listen, I don't care, I'm going home. My sister was like that. So yeah, that's what under heaven is going on in these like careless streets of Afrique du Sud. That is what is happening in these careless streets of yours where you don't care for your people. This knocks. So you're still in systematic oppression. Because like in the days of apartheid South Africa, in the group areas, and the baddest of things go to the baddest of people regarded as whites, because they were the ones called baddest, while the ones who were out here, making like rodents at the bottom, eating smack at the dregs of society. So seeing as the South African government displayed that they can build a country real fast because of the World Cup, why under heaven, when upon a Group Areas Act happening, being repealed, apartheid government and died off, right? white folk then started to emigrate upwards. They went northwards, Bashia, Ioval, Bashia, Peria, Bashia, whatever, because black people flooded in there. And then as a result of black people flooding in there, black folk are to be defecating where they eat. But nonetheless, despite people being, like, Mamela, I spoke about Cosmo City, right? Like, well, what causes people to be maintained in a status of basically defecating where they eat? If at all they're not trained, that they're loved. And if at all they're not trained, that take care of yourself, that your environment might be some kind of seemly. Like black people, you see that they are able to live in better households because once they get out of their gussie, they stop throwing apple cores on the grass where they stay. They throw apple cores on the floor. If you give people better living environments, they get trained to essentially take care of that atmosphere. When they're in the gussie, they don't litter. Not in the gussie. When they're in the burbs, they don't litter. But when they're in the gussie, they be out here, listen, pooping in public. Okay, maybe that's an extreme. When they are in the burbs, they be out here putting their cigarette butts in an ashtray, but in the gussie, it's on the floor and they step on it, causing a felt fire. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, but if you clean up their environment and essentially make it a travesty for them to keep on littering where they stay, they will be trained over time, given that they already come from dirt, to be cleaner. Because black folk, albeit living in some of the most debilitated, dirty environments, weren't they the ones cleaning white people's houses, wiping down their kitchen counters? Weren't they the ones making sure that white folk live in some of the most pristine, most spotless spaces? Essentially, they had it in them to live clean. They had it in them to live better, insofar as you can give them better environments to live in. So therefore, what the South African government was supposed to do, as soon as black folk moved to Yeovil, black folk moved to, you get all these places, they were supposed to keep on maintaining those buildings, collecting rent, cleaning up streets, making sure that all that litter does not just go unfettered, and over time, you would have watched them transform and keep their cities clean. They were made to live in dirt in apartheid, and so yet to be trained like children freshly set free from an abusive household. They're going to initially have a PTSD, out here acting up in the new house where they're staying. But if over the years you love them and you treat them well and you kindly cuddle them, these children will start to adjust to the environment of love, and so do a better thing. There was a story that I was watching on Netflix. I watched a couple of years ago, not Netflix, sorry, on YouTube, of this one child that became sort of kind of like monstrous and essentially wanting to even murder her own brother because she came from a family where she was daily being raped by her dad. And this kid was violent and she was threatening teachers. She was abusive to the brother. Right? This kid was 5 seconds away from murder. Ultimately, she was taken to this one particular school for the transformation of such kids as these with PTSD. And this here also induced the gospel. They trained the Christ, right? Over like about 2 years in this institution where she was living, was trained love, was trained affection, was trained contriteness. And she ultimately got to a point where she bawled. She cried like a broken heart and a contrite spirit over the abuse that she endured her baby brother through. The not cigarette burns, but the candle burns and whatnot. They got adopted, both of these children, by a loving Christian family that put her through the school to retrain her. And over 2 years, gently, because she was trained love, trained adoration, however, with a firm hand of discipline on her back, right? She ended up, this young girl, being now, like, she grew up to get married and everything, and she was a decent lady in society. Her history did not dictate her future. Her past did not educate her future because they caught the situation early and they dealt with it. They caught it, as in, I just keep seeing visions and hearing crazy commentary about these men with their sexual deviancy, speaking about things like spanking. Oh, mamela dog, so that is so virtuous. Where now all causing in their urine and then want to be all sexually deviant and spank her. Anyway, whatever. Your history does not have to dictate your future. So systematic oppression and black people being made to live in the dregs of society, essentially being left out on a limb, abused for years by white supremacy. They were supposed to slowly but surely be shown how to live. That environment, that retraining house was full of love, but it was also full of firm discipline. It was also full of essentially consequence management. So it said impose fines for littering. When you go into a building and it's dirty, increase the levies of the people living there. Higher levies. So that next time they will not only not litter, but they will surveil everyone that litters. to make sure that they're put in their place. They will correct within their own spaces, and they will also be quick when there is litter on the floor to pick it up and throw it in the dustbin, because I don't want to pay higher levies. And over time, you will find that this apartment building, upon the inspector going there month on month, will then realize that it's getting cleaner and cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. And once then these people can handle themselves, maintain themselves, and not get and essentially have themselves in a bunch, then you can release them from this place where it is that they are paying fines for every small little thing, to now saying you don't have to pay fines because now you are self-managing. Just like that child ultimately got to a point where she was self-managing. She was able to be a proper human being amidst other people. So black folk were supposed to be, once they moved to suburbia, having lived in debilitated conditions, thinking that they can just defecate where they eat, they were supposed to be retrained how to take care of these flats in Yeovil, these flats in downtown Johannesburg, by the buildings and the management there essentially be regulated by a task force in the government to instill these disciplines in people that are used to living in their own junk because of being abused, and then retrain them. You would have noticed then, if you had employed these structures in the land, that black people would not have been so destructive everywhere they go, out defecating where they eat. But because you just don't care for them and you always just dump them, and you evidence that, listen, everywhere where they go, still to this day, black people will destroy what city they live in. It's not that they can't be trained, it's that they're not loved. And so because they're not loved and they're not properly disciplined, the PTSD of past hurt is not being uprooted until they're self-managing. And what do you call this? When I was at Cosmo City, listen, it's all these years after apartheid. It was in these very 2010s that we just recently come from Malobanyana Mona. I moved into a new building, a new development, and there are rules, there are laws in the country that nobody follows. For if at all you build a new building, people can move into it only once a certain quality assurance checks have been met. Because certain environments are not habitable for human beings, it's illegal. You can't let them live there. It's just basic care for your fellow man on the street. Yeah, there are laws. Companies are not supposed to be allowed to hand over, construction businesses are not supposed to be allowed to hand over a site, a building, unless certain checks are met. Things like waste management has to be in place. People cannot live. This is a law. I'm not coming up with my own stuff. I'm not recommending statute. It's law. Waste management in a residential property has got to be down, already established, before people can move in. Anyway, proper waste management. Baldwin Group already spoke about how with them, while their waste management was on point, nonetheless their workmanship was so lackluster that stuff kept on falling on people. But whatever, that's another story for another day. Marako Cosmo City, because it was a black neighborhood, they out here handed over, the construction company, the developers handed over a building before it had proper waste management. So the place was always just buzzing with flies, maggots would be crawling because people never waste yabona. Mofats downstairs in Japan. Like there was one communal waste place that they expected people carry plastic to walk like far, dog. Their dirt to this place from upstairs, from wherever. Garbage. A whole 500-meter walk to like some far away like island. They were supposed to procure the picked up black dustbins labeled by unit number that would be downstairs, seeing as it was, that's how it was, go Baldwin. They can't have these picked up dustbins, of course, outside of houses, especially not in a sectional title that is stacked like Godim, like as in flats, one on top of the other. With a cluster home, you can have one just be outside of a person's house, like go outside the gate, or whatever fence. We've got one just back here, right? With like a stacked flat like that. You can't just have these big black ugly. They will mess with the CI, the corporate identity, the beauty of the complex, right? You can't have them just like right next door, like right in front of Munyanko. But you can have downstairs, just like with Baldwin Group, some place that is essentially closed up, close to this cluster of flats that people here go they go down the however many flights of stairs and then dump their stuff, go to dustbins, and they can choose go Baldwin. They were all just kind of clumped together in one space, as in this is for unit number 29, this is for unit number 30, unit whatever, but people just dumped their stuff in whatever unit number they wanted to dump it in, but it was nonetheless close enough to the people living in that particular cluster of flats. Living in that cluster of flats, it was close enough for them to throw their garbage over there. Garbage downstairs, so even at night, in if you're having a braai, you can just quickly go downstairs, and throw your stuff, and then go back up again. And that joint did not stink. There were there was just a constant smell. I hated living in Cosmo City, and I have a thing about creepy crawlies. So maggots were for me just right there by the door. No matter how much bleach, no matter hey, it was hard living there. Anyway, whatever. that's how it was for a ballroom group. They were supposed to have the dustbin downstairs, and per each cluster of flats have a place, waste management, where it is that the guys who collect dirt would then take it from here and move it to the main place in order for it to be collected by essentially the garbage collection per week. As you guys, about Tobacco, Cosmo City, Neba Tocha from upstairs, and then you would find Tina that used to live on the bottom floor, which is where I stayed. You would find like the plastic garbage just right there, downstairs where you stayed. Because I mean, who in the world is gonna walk all the way over there? They did not have proper waste management. But then again, it was a black neighborhood with black developers. Not black developers, sorry, but developers that handed over a property. I don't know if the developers were black or what, but it was within a black neighborhood. And because it was a black neighborhood, they out here, like I said, the corruption here is in our government and also in corporate executives, including construction bosses. They just handed over a building that was not with proper waste management to people. And so there was a waste issue in that place, to a point where, listen, you would open your kitchen door and right there on the floor, there would be like just a row of maggots because of all the dirt that was thrown down morally. There was this one Nigerian guy that wreaked havoc in my life, but nonetheless we became friends briefly, that used to complain about this thing. In that complex, in one of the units, and he'd be like, you guys, I don't know how you deal. I don't know how you guys deal. Like, why in the world you just gonna be out there dumping trash and just here? Because now look, there's like maggots at the rim of your door type establishment thing. Yeah. Like, everybody that came over there knew that this place was a problem. Yet nonetheless it was handed over in a new development, and already black people in this joint, because of Bonanjafela, they get handed over stuff that doesn't even have proper waste management. They lived in a very lackluster fashion in this space. No rules, you can't hang impahla zakho on railings. It's uncouth. Naledi washing lines. So they hung their stuff on the railings and not used communal washing lines that were there because, I mean, nobody cares about us. You train decorum and etiquette to people. You train it, but you can't train decorum and etiquette into people that you evidence you don't care about. You don't just tell them, walk all the way to a faraway garbage disposal site. Show them that you have allotted them all these things. Find them when they don't do right. So next time they won't hang their clothes on windows. And so next time they also will not throw their garbage just out a window. They won't just throw an apple core out a window. You train people etiquette. So white folk, they're out here always complaining. You remember Penny Sparrow with all the dirt on Durban Beach and her racist slurs? Yeah, white folk who come from Comfort Kush and essentially white money that have been all the time loved. Just could not understand the Mara, if at all you don't take care of yourselves as black people, and so therefore train better behavior. Now that, listen, we're gonna heal now because we've been hurt, and now we'll go forward like a bubble, and so we're gonna show them. You decide to go and prove everybody right that you're corrupt. You were not supposed to even be set free. Because listen, even when you line your pockets with all of our money, the first places you afflict with rationing are black neighborhoods. So what incentive does Soweto have to stay clean upon municipality collecting garbage when people there are not loved enough to keep themselves clean? Domestic workers go and clean houses of rich people, and they look like, shiny like a Swarovski crystal, and yet go and live in Mikuku. There are places that, listen, you can sweep there 10 times and it'll still be brown as day, as a dust. You can wipe a window 5 times and it'll still have stains on it. Because they're just like in there, it's years of grind. When a house is not being maintained, a person every so often struggles to even wipe down surfaces. Because listen, how do you know if it's clean or dirty? Because it just looks dirty all the time, even when it's clean. So when people live in an environment that's that debilitating, they won't clean up after themselves, but they will clean up after other people. But just the fact that they can clean up after other people evidences that they can clean up after themselves. But then what is going to make them clean up after themselves? Give them a clean house, then they will see it fit to maintain it. Well, the black government saw it fit to ignore that we need clean houses, and then they watched a whole bunch of people flood into previously white areas and decimate those drains. Not fine, not establish bylaws, anything at all to essentially deal with the problem. You can't just keep littering. But now they were too busy focused on themselves. They were too busy focusing on themselves as opposed to a nation's healing. And so because they were too busy looking at themselves, I know who I am in the mirror on the wall. Who the baddest at them all? I be that thing, ANC. Bona bayohlala eSandton, banyanya abantu abalahla ngisikhohlela on the floor. Banyanya abantu that live in places that you can't even put your buttock down, dog, like it's so dirty. Yeah, Banyanya, black folk, when all of them came out of that joint, and at some point they were also living in their own feces because that's what white folk gave us to live in. But then once they got takolad and gentrified, they evidenced that they can live cleaner, they can live better, but then they became classist. and unsophisticated in so being those barbarians. And so these Neanderthals, I get Neanderthals. Listen, honey, you the Neanderthal? It's giving all the day long, Planet of the Apes. Herein lies this rather Neanderthal, calling white folks Neanderthals, but is it not Neanderthal-y behavior to be out here defecating where you eat and disregarding your own fam? In black families, you, like proper, not only do they not empower black people under PEE, but they left out their own fellow blacks in the spiritual progress for me and me only. And then they invested in this gnarly trait, practice of theirs of doing magic to get wealth from family members. So, I mean, if you're going to insist that your mother live in a dung hut while you live in a mansion in Santon because you're using her wealth to get yours. Honey bumble sugar la la la. Pumpkin like sugar snapples. Listen, you're trash and everybody going to be looking at you like you that trash. Because listen, you've been that trash all these days. If you don't care to uplift your own family member, have their back and visit them in hospital. And if in their hospitals, again, if you look at public hospitals in suburbia, I have been to two. I've been to Helen Joseph, which is a form of suburbia. And I've also been to some hospital that side. Listen, I don't know what it's called, a Vitpoiki whatnot. But it almost kind of like fronted Haidnebata as a private hospital. Because it's in a white neighborhood. But Mamela, it's very difficult to navigate your way around Bara. I don't know what it looks like today, but I used to hate going there back in the day. I'm a patient. So even the public hospitals in the Gasis just suck in comparison to public hospitals in Burbia. And I'm like, Yazen, Dingongori, didn't say and then eat them, ANC, because you that's not eating bugger anyway. Eating green slime, like it ain't Jack. So, latang dingongori? Yes. Alright, so given that that's like a whole thingy, my Bobby, you can therefore see, okay? No, now who look at beautiful girls living in shacks, because black people, black chicks, but aren't they just popping a lip gloss? Look at me. We're beautiful though, we come from crazy places. And instead of empowering your women, instead of essentially, listen, I sometimes look at white girls and I'm like, isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? She is so kept and loved by daddy. And her brothers all be having her back. And all the guys in the neighborhood regard her pain. Tweet, 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 tweet. You be looking at white chicks and you're like, yo, you will look at her and just feel like that serenity in your eyes and that solemnity as well on some shame. Isono kadi girls abantu abantu. Isono ngathi guys, isono. Ngoba noma muhle ure, noma fly like a bird. Yeah, fly like a bird. Woo! But a flightless bird, you're a flamingo, cause you don't got no glory. You're a chicken. Okay, yeah, you've made yourselves non-fly. You've made yourselves birds, but that can't fly. Yeah. You look at white chicks and sometimes you're like, isn't she lovely, wonderful? You also look at especially rich Indian chicks, Arab chicks. Have you seen them when they come from rich families? Like I was reading some article today on Quran's Digest, and one of them spoke about the richest family in Saudi Arabia. And there was this chick, this Arab chick, next to her, like a dad, brother, person, male, like accomplice. And you know how the men wear whatever, and this chick is rocking, like she's wearing a Western outfit, not so much the hijab and whatnot, and she just looks so classy. And you can tell like she's out here oozing money. Wealthy, and she's wearing this like fascinator hat and this like gorgeous outfit, and you just look at her on some, isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? Cause her brothers and sisters take care of her. They ascertain that she is taken care of. Isn't she lovely, wonderful? It's like you be out there going Stevie Wonder all the day long. But like Stevie Wonder, you be out there cheating on a lady even though you blind. Okay. Listen, alright, no. I'm accusing Stevie Wonder. The one who was out here a prolific cheat was Ray Charles. I'm sorry, Stevie Wonder. Listen, I apologize. Oh, believe me, I do. Yeah, Mara, you're honestly walking around in like a whole little blind pursuit too, like Stevie Wonder. Yeah, Indian chicks. Like when I was working go Rosebank, go the store, this like clothing store when I was 18, 19. At Vit's first year, I had a job as a casual in a shop at Rosebank. And yo, guys, there's this one, I don't know if it was Indian or Arab family that came in there. And there was this chick that looked like she could be my age, 19 as well. Yo, this chick walked in, beautiful. She looked like she could be Armenian. Like, listen, some brown blood over there. Yo. A family, no, there were sons that looked like they could have been like 7, 12, 15. And then this chick who was like my peer. And then her mom, actually looking like Kris Jenner in her younger days. Like I said, they look Arab. Like they were wearing, the chick would not wear a regular outfit, but the dad not wearing that Arab, like a Saudi outfit type setup thing. And this chick, following the little sister, this older sister around, she was so classy with the sleek, straight black hair, and just like this, like wealth was just oozing off this family. And this chick came in, barely ever sold Lankutla. We were struggling to make sales because the owner was not smart, and like that's frankly all that was over there. Nonetheless, this chick gave us, this family, especially this young lady, made our sales targets for the day. I won. Mangeda. And this chick was like, without even fitting stuff on, without trying stuff on. It's like the dad and the mom were like, let's just go shopping at Rosebank today. And then they went, and this chick walked in, and the keeper stuff in that store was expensive. She would look at a top and be like, I want it. She would then look at a dress, and then I'll take it. By the time it was on Mole, they were, listen, tens of thousands of rands were spent in that store. She almost basically emptied the shop. And Bapatala got cash, so it's giving corruption. They didn't pay with a card. They paid with cash. And I remember just thinking of that, especially girl, because she was my peer, and I was looking at her on some, oh my goodness, right? Feeling so like little in front of her. This Arab/Indian chick, I remember being like, yo, you can tell that this chick is just protected. Like the thing that I was thinking about in my mind, more even than loved or sought after, because she was quite gorgeous as well, was that she was protected. The thought in my mind was, you can tell that this girl, even though she and I were likely born in the exact same year, she's got protection. She's protected. She walked around like royalty. What I'm trying to get at is that black women, when they look that glorious, when they're that beautiful, when they're that stellar, when they're that stunning, when they're that beautiful, umuntu nje that looks like ingilosi, ano thina siya-exploita, asiprotectwi, siya-exploitwa, asivikelwi do. A black chick, omuhle, poised, kept together, like ipikoko, elegant, yo. If she's struggling in these streets, black men go in there and they pounce, yo. They pounce. You don't care to preserve ubuhle by your daughters. You don't care how glorious a woman is, how classy. You don't care what a gem she is to you, to your countries, what a virtue she is, what a value. That's why they're the angry black women, that whole phenomenon. That's why they have to fight so much harder to get basic things done, because they don't have that regal air to them, or at least even if they do have it, you don't appreciate it. You don't care. You just want to squander virtue. You want to squander beautiful things. Look at our men in the entertainment industry and their misogyny. They have objectified us. They want us jiggling our buttocks. They want us licentious, crass. They want us just debilitated in virtue. And then they call us B words. And then you sit there as a black girl embracing this culture where you're unloved by your men, and then you look at a white girl and you are just passive aggressive, passing her shade, calling her like Becky with the good hair with a silver spoon in her mouth. You don't know no struggle, except really and truly, why black women do you have a struggle? It's because one, you won't fight for yourselves, and secondly, you won't take care of yourselves, and thirdly, amadoda enu abena that thing in them that causes them to be like, isn't she lovely, wonderful? Just basically swinging around a woman's life to look at her as, let's protect her. If anything, you just want to squander her. You want to waste her. So many of us have been squandered, wasted, raped, that other women are to be throwing us out on a limb. And men, when they find an untainted virgin like glorious Eve before the fall like looking black girl, they just want to make her Eve after the fall, de-virtued and denatured. And I'm like, Yazini, I escape that which catches everyone like it's Pokemon. I'm not going to be denatured like I am a culture in a petri dish after too many hours of being poked and prodded away at by a scientist, a biochemist, a pathologist. I will not be denatured, because the Lord gazes upon me like Stevie Wonder. Isn't she lovely, my daughter's wonderful? He sees my value, and I'm not going to let anybody squander me. I'm not going to let myself get taken by these crazy beastly boys, dog, that capitalize on the black girl just like a beautiful building after apartheid ends that is inhabited by black people and now is debilitated in 2026 with litter at the bottom and people living in that feces. Babies growing up in all that contamination. I'm not going to let myself in your more I know who I am. I know I'm special. I don't need drugs. I'm addicted to life. Like the drug ad of back in the day. Yeah, cause I'm old. Anyway, you be out here trying to put black girls in a brothel. When you look at a poised, well put together white chick, all you can think is, isn't she lovely? And every so often like Indian chicks, these Arabs, like, yeah, hey, laba look at you buga this chick and you're like, yo lo protected. Yambona ukuthi akunabantu abangafuni next guy. You could be a most poised, most elegant lady in the room, out here oozing regal, you're giving royalty, and still don't nobody care because I'ma hit that. Listen, men ought to be plotting and scheming to hit that. When a woman is poised and elegant, men ought to be like, I'm going to love her and protect her and cherish her virtue. It's when they throw themselves at you as migwanti. It's when they make themselves little strippers. It's when they out here be rocking like fishnet stockings and chewing bubble gum with like blue hair and like a belt for a skirt that maybe a guy can be like, I'ma hit that. But when a woman is walking around elegant and poised, I missed you, and she has an evident class, it's just oozing. It's pulsating like a heartbeat. What do you mean? You want her as a side chick? You want to hit that? What the heck, dog? Like, what the heck? These buggers want me as a side piece. They want me as a one-night stand, something to ravage into. I'ma nibble that, I'ma hit that. I mean, insofar as umuntu is going through hell on earth, it doesn't matter how poised she is, how much she ought to be taking care of herself. You are going to ruin her. And then I get to saying, yeah, your little weird, crazy black government thing, and virtue. They don't care about their virgins. They don't care about their dames. They don't care about their ladies. They don't care about their wonderfulnesses. And I don't care about you. Therefore, as a result, you're the ones. You did that. You did that. You did that. You just take what you want. Yeah, man. And I feel lawyer, black people. A white chick out here meeting a dude in the office. Next thing, I'm saying, what? Like a dude is like, I'm gonna hit that, I wanna have sex. Oh yeah, it's kind of thing. And then decides I'm gonna hook up a love spell on Candace. Dog. Yes, now you are uncultured. You are uncultured. Black people, you are uncultured. And the oppression that we are still enduring, this oppression we're still enduring, it's the reason why there's going to be a revolution in these streets. Because why are you trying to hurt me? Why are you trying to break me? Why are you trying to crush me to a fine powder? Why are you trying to give me heart palpitations upon finding out that my boyfriend is married? Why are you trying to shock me? Why are you trying to clap my ass like a dog? I can't even fathom it, okay? I'm sure you know that I'm dating. I just saw and feel like give Luana. Hey man, temper one thing I can't go in. One nonsense. If you like was nice about wow. I can so get like that wretchedness in the feel of dragging a chick in the street on some party. I don't know it. I've only ever gazed upon it from a distance. Like I'm on a terrace or whatever. Or like I am Leonardo DiCaprio and there's a Kate Winslet or what on the Titanic. Out here trying to fly like a bird. I've only ever flown like a bird on a terrace watching black people out here get up at each other go biting. I've only ever seen it in other people. And I've always said to myself, I'm not going to let myself know if he hits me, one. Even once. I'm sorry, I'm too classy to stay with a bugger like that. Yes, like it, man, I am regal. I'm queenly. Do you understand? And I've been that way all my life. When I was in primary school, my teacher was like, go St. Matthews. I've always been a peacock. Even my teacher saw my elegance since I was a girl. I wouldn't notice on clap me, na. Oh, listen. Hotel, get a side chick. Funya the busy baza next to me. Cause I'm saying what thing busy one phone or guy. Angio by Slay Queen. Angio Tangelo just to be shacked up in a hotel, lacking all that class and all that mistress activity. Listen, it is classless. It is classless to be a side chick. It is classless to be a mistress. Ha poise in it. I don't know how many trips they can take you on to whatever destinations across the world. I don't care how many guys you can wear. I don't care how much Gucci you can put on your buttock if you are a mistress. I don't care how much Gucci you can put on your buttock if you let yourself be the side chick of a married man. You ain't got no class. Listen, girl, I said that. I did. Get out from underneath the armpits as umakwapeni of indota echadile. Akuna poise in that. noma umuhle, noma umude, noma we model, noma travel across the world. And so most people have not seen your footprint, like statistics. Most people have not visited all continents on the earth. The way you that hectic slay queen. Kodwa awuna class. Ngicela nje bafazi lithakoleng and gain class and stop dating these married men. But then again, when are you ever gonna stop? Banthakathaka buhlungu kanje na. Bale jesa hakana. Bale beya mo di-transing. Bale foster hore le itebale. Bale etsa hore le accommodate polygamy. Le sa spy. When the nation is suffocating under ritualists that are also making sure that other Black South Africans are living in their own feces and babies are growing up in contaminated buildings. And yet men like those think I'm their spouse. Your nation is still in dust, do you understand? Kodwa ilanga lizofika when Black people are like, "Chanuch is chanuch." For enough, listen, it's done for. This ain't right. Black folk can live in elegance and class. You have shown those of you that get gentrified, and yet you deny that opportunity to others among us. Black folk in other countries where this level of defeatism among Blacks is not a thing live in very beautiful lifestyles. You've seen it. Listen, it is not that Black folk cannot be classy. It is that Black folk lock out other Black folk from being classy. You see it in Ethiopia, but you also see the disparities in Ethiopia among the poor Blacks there versus the wealthy. You see it in Somalia. Look at how this crazy lady that's about to be deported from the US is living versus other Somalis in that very America. Complete disparities. Black folk not out here taking care of each other. You see it in Uganda, Ghana, Nigeria. Look at the opulent Blacks there and look at the ones that are struggling. Look at the disparities. It's that Black people lock Black people out of prosperity because you are defeatist. And for as long as you're like that, Africa, for what, for who, when are you ever going to have Wi-Fi everywhere? For as long as in Africa this level of defeatism is an issue, you will never ever get to experience European power because you don't have it in you to regard the common welfare of your people. You just, like, you're so defeatist. It's not that you don't know. Listen, I correct myself. It's not that you don't have it in you to have regard for the common welfare of your people. You do. You showed it in apartheid. You can be unified insofar as you're oppressed. You can be unified, Black folk, but only if you can be familial and you can have ubuntu and you can clump together in support of one another insofar as wonke umuntu la uyagereza, uyagotla, wonke umuntu uyakoroba, wonke umuntu uyahumama. Ain't nobody standing preen like a bird flying, soaring in the sky. I'm not making like a gazelle, a giraffe, and jefela. Kamulala ole dafer. Insofar as wonke umuntu uyagogoba. And everybody ain't got no nails anymore because they keep on scrubbing the bare ground with their claws. Then on that day, you are on some seas with Siminyama. Vosafa, seas with Savandu. Jengoma sonke sila, amakoko siatandana. Umama momo chimo. Yeah, no, you be unified only insofar as everybody groveling. But better get any Black folk doing anything better by themselves, and then you will find disparities, all that income, like inequality that you find in the most unequal country in the world. Lazy eye. When insofar as you be sitting with that lazy eye, with your big house, your mama ain't gonna see no sunlight, neither is your sister gonna see no energy. Your baby brother gonna know nothing right, but you're gonna be the only millionaire in your family. As soon as you make wealth, you leave other Black people out, and that's why Black economic empowerment needs to just be abolished like sipinya out of your body after a bad case of IBS. I said that. Let's not so. And so, because Anita the prosperity of each other, look at what you've done to a most intelligent, most gifted, most beastly academic, gawking at all of you standing before you with all of her regal queen nonity, because it's a queen nonity, not queenhood, but a queen nonity. Look at me gaze upon you with all of my queen nonity, and yet you have no regard for your queen. Listen, I'm your queen. That's what I am. That's who I is. But you tried to reject in Dabayoguti. I am entirely royalty before you because I am walking in a most regal way. Ellen classy. As the Lord would have us be classy in so loving one another and having your brother's back and loosing the bonds of wickedness and undoing the straps of the yoke. Okay, yeah. You will eat each other for blood, for flesh, cannibals, until you realize that, listen, this is all very inappropriate. Who are you exactly, Hannibal Lecter? Clarice, you naughty girl. Silence of the lambs, listen, you are a murderer. It's coming on you rather, because nathi siyazi ukushaya ngempama angeke ungisukele Ngoba mina ngizithulele uzozwa mpama. Yeah, cause I jazzed it up. Okay. Little Palmer, cause like you toletse. I only slapped you Mpama and became ghetto cause aren't you all ghetto? All like my nostrils. Nostrils. Ghetto. You're so ghetto that I had to like lose my cooch and slap you. What? Angekungi sugele Goba mina ngizithulele uzozwa mpama. Listen, Yitzi. Current. Kode trapper. Mamelang. Kadi mpama. Bese kiti tukisa. Kilukisa. Kitokora. Wait, exactly. Been all ghetto, cause listen, you ghetto, so I'ma be ghetto back. Except I changed my mind. I don't know how to be ghetto. Thanks, Spanish. I've just said it. Yeah, I did that. Let's snacks. But once, we can grab and it gets 6 minutes past 7. Kiss obini and it get obina cause I sing. Because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. Why should I feel discouraged? Why should the shadows come? Yeah. Why should my heart feel lonely and long for heaven and home? Yeah, when Jesus is my portion, a constant friend is he. His eye is on the sparrow, and that's how I know that he watches me. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. His eye is on the sparrow, and that's how I know he watches me. Yeah, until you sing that song as a concert, black people. Listen, you're not getting out of this at all. How it goes? They're trapped.